I had it all. A beautiful marriage with Amanda, a dream house, and a future that seemed as bright as the California Sunday. For 5 years, we built our life together, brick by brick, love note by love note. Then came that girl's trip to Miami she was so excited about. She packed her favorite sundress, kissed me goodbye at the airport, and promised to call every day. She never came home. No trace, no message, no explanation. Then 4 years later, there she was at my doorstep with a 3-year-old boy. If you are watching this, let me know where you are viewing from. Hit that like button and subscribe to hear how I made the woman who shattered my world regret ever coming back. I met Amanda at an art gallery opening in downtown Los Angeles. I was there because I designed the modern extension of the building, and she was there showcasing her interior design work. Our eyes locked across the room while examining the same abstract sculpture. I remember thinking how her blue eyes seemed to change color depending on how the light hit them. We talked for hours that night, long after the event ended, sitting on a bench outside the gallery under the stars. Dating Amanda was like living in a movie. We would go on spontaneous weekend trips to small coastal towns, cook elaborate meals together in my tiny apartment kitchen, and spend lazy Sundays reading books side by side. After 2 years of creating these memories, I knew she was the one. I took her back to that little beach in Carmel where we had our first weekend getaway. As the sun set, painting the sky in vibrant oranges and pinks, I got down on one knee and asked her to be my wife. Her eyes filled with tears as she said yes, and we celebrated by dancing barefoot in the sand. Our wedding was small but meaningful. Just 50 guests gathered in a rustic vineyard in Napa Valley. Amanda wore a simple white dress that made her look like she had stepped out of a dream. We wrote our own vows, promising to always support each other through whatever life threw our way. I had no idea then how severely that promise would be tested. The first 5 years of our marriage were nothing short of blissful. I worked my way up at my architecture firm while Amanda built her reputation as an interior designer. We complemented each other perfectly, both in our professional and personal lives. I would design spaces, and she would bring them to life with her impeccable taste. Many of our clients hired us as a package deal, loving how seamlessly our styles blended. After 3 years of saving, we finally purchased our first home together. A mid-century modern house with large windows that flooded the rooms with natural light. We spent weekends fixing it up, painting walls, planting a garden, and making it ours. Every corner held a story, every room a dream for our future. We shared so many interests that kept our relationship exciting. We took cooking classes together, learning to make pasta from scratch and perfect our sushi rolling technique. We hiked through national parks, collecting memories instead of souvenirs. We even trained together to complete a half marathon, crossing the finish line hand in hand. Through all these years, the spark between us never faded. We still had date nights every Friday, taking turns, planning surprises for each other. Sometimes it was as simple as a picnic in the park, other times it was tickets to a show we had been dying to see. No matter what, we made time for each other despite our busy schedules. What made our relationship special was how we handled disagreements. We rarely fought, but when we did, we never went to bed angry. We would talk through our issues, listen to each other, and find compromise. There were no red flags, no warning signs of what was to come, at least none that I could see. When Amanda told me about the girls' trip to Miami for her friend Jenna's 30th birthday, I was genuinely happy for her. She worked so hard and deserved a week of relaxation with her closest friends. The group had been planning it for months, 5 women who had been friends since college, excited to celebrate this milestone together. Amanda packed meticulously for the trip, trying on different outfits and asking my opinion. I helped her choose the perfect gift for Jenna and even surprised her with a new pair of sunglasses she had been eyeing. The night before she left, we had a romantic dinner at home. I cooked her favorite meal, salmon with roasted vegetables and a chocolate souffle for dessert. We talked about how much we would miss each other, but agreed that a little time apart was healthy. The morning of her departure, I drove her to the airport. We kissed goodbye at the security checkpoint, and I watched her walk away, turning back once to wave with that beautiful smile I loved so much. I had no idea it would be the last time I would see that smile for 4 long years. The first day after Amanda left for Miami, everything seemed normal. I received a text from her in the evening, just landed. Hotel is gorgeous. Miss you already. I replied with a heart emoji and went to bed happy knowing she arrived safely. On the second day, we had a brief phone call. Amanda sounded rushed with loud music and laughter in the background. She told me they were heading out to dinner at a popular beachfront restaurant. I asked if she was having fun, and she said yes before quickly ending the call, promising to talk more tomorrow. The third day passed with no communication. I sent a few texts asking how things were going, but received no reply. I tried not to worry, assuming she was busy enjoying herself with her friends. Maybe they went on a boat trip where cell reception was poor, or perhaps her phone battery had died. I busied myself with work, trying not to check my phone every 5 minutes. By the fourth day, with no word, a sense of unease began creeping in. I called her but got sent straight to voicemail. I sent more messages asking her to just let me know she was okay. Still nothing. That night I called Jenna thinking perhaps Amanda had lost her phone or something had happened. What Jenna told me turned my unease into full-blown panic. According to her, Amanda had left the group on the third morning of the trip. She told them she was feeling homesick and had decided to fly back early. Jenna assumed Amanda was already home with me. My blood ran cold as I explained that I had not seen or heard from my wife since that brief call 2 days ago. I immediately called the other women on the trip, but they all confirmed the same story. Amanda had breakfast with them, received a phone call, stepped outside to take it, and then came back to announce she was leaving. She hugged everyone goodbye, took her suitcase, and that was the last they saw of her. None of them thought it was strange, since she said she was going home to me. The panic grew into full-blown terror as I realized Amanda had disappeared without a trace. I called the hotel they were staying at, but they confirmed she had checked out. I called the airline, but there was no record of her boarding any flight back to Los Angeles. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. I reported her missing to the police that same night. They took down all the information but did not seem particularly concerned. A grown woman deciding to leave her friends and not contact her husband for a few days did not strike them as an emergency. They suggested she might just need some space and would return when she was ready, but I knew Amanda better than that. This was completely out of character for her. I contacted her parents next, hoping against hope that she had gone to stay with them for some reason. The fear in their voices matched my own when they said they had not heard from her. They immediately drove down from San Francisco to stay with me while we tried to figure out what was happening. As days turned into a week with no sign of Amanda, I began investigating on my own. I checked our joint bank account and discovered a large withdrawal had been made on the third day of her trip, the day she disappeared. $6,000, almost all of our savings gone in one transaction. The withdrawal had been made at an ATM in Miami using her card and PIN. This discovery sent my mind racing in 1,000 different directions. I hired a private investigator, a former police detective named Frank, who specialized in missing persons cases. He flew to Miami to retrace Amanda's steps, interviewing the hotel staff, checking security cameras, and visiting the ATM where the money had been withdrawn. He confirmed it was indeed Amanda on the camera footage, looking nervous but not under duress. She was alone when she took the money out. As the investigation continued, my life fell apart at the seams. I could not sleep, barely ate, and took a leave of absence from work. My days were spent making phone calls, checking in with the police, and searching social media for any sign of my wife. I created missing person posters with her picture and distributed them everywhere I could think of. I called hospitals in Miami and surrounding areas, fearing she might have been in an accident. My mind tortured me with questions and scenarios. Had she been planning this all along? Was our entire relationship a lie? Had she met someone else? Was she running from something or someone, or had something more sinister happened? The not knowing was the worst part. If she had fallen out of love with me, why not just say so? Why disappear without a word? The first month after Amanda disappeared was a blur of police interviews, sleepless nights, and endless searching. The case was officially classified as a missing person investigation. Detectives interviewed all her friends, coworkers, and family members. They combed through her emails, phone records, and social media accounts looking for clues. Her parents were absolutely devastated. Her mother cried constantly, unable to understand how her daughter could vanish without a word. Her father, a retired military man, channeled his grief into action, contacting everyone he knew who might be able to help find Amanda. They refused to believe she would willingly abandon her life and marriage. They raised her to be responsible and caring, not someone who would cause this kind of pain intentionally. I spent hours going through our home looking for any clue Amanda might have left behind. It was during one of these searches that I discovered her passport was missing, along with some of her favorite clothes and her grandmother's ring that she always wore for good luck. This suggested she had planned to leave rather than being taken against her will. The realization was both a relief and a fresh wound. She was likely safe, but she had chosen to leave. Another disturbing discovery was that all her social media accounts had been deleted, not just deactivated, but completely erased. Her Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter were gone as if they had never existed. The digital footprint she had built over years had been methodically wiped away. This level of premeditation shook me to my core. 6 months passed with no significant developments. I went through all the stages of grief, though there was no death to mourn. First came denial, where I convinced myself this was all a misunderstanding, that she would walk through the door any day with a perfectly reasonable explanation. Then came anger, a rage so intense it frightened me. I would find myself shouting into empty rooms, demanding answers from walls that could not respond. The bargaining phase was particularly painful. I made countless promises to a God I was not sure I believed in. If only Amanda would come home safe, I would be a better husband, a better man. I would never take her for granted again. I would give anything, everything, just to know she was okay. During this time, rumors began circulating. A former colleague of Amanda's claimed to have seen her at a beach resort in Cancun, Mexico. The woman said Amanda was with a man she did not recognize. I immediately sent the private investigator to Mexico to follow this lead, spending money I could not afford to spare. After 2 weeks of searching, he returned empty-handed. Either the sighting was a mistake, or Amanda had already moved on. The depression that followed was all-encompassing. I began seeing a therapist who specialized in trauma and loss. Dr. Rachel Thomas helped me understand that what I was experiencing was a form of ambiguous loss, one of the most challenging types of grief, because there is no closure. She encouraged me to take care of my physical health as a way to support my mental well-being. I started running every morning, the physical exhaustion providing temporary relief from the emotional pain. 1 year after Amanda's disappearance, the police officially closed their active investigation due to lack of new evidence. They assured me the case would remain open, and any new information would be followed up on, but they had exhausted all leads. This felt like another abandonment, another door closing on any hope of finding answers. With the encouragement of my therapist and family, I began the legal process of having Amanda declared missing, the first step toward an eventual declaration of death in absentia or divorce. The paperwork felt cold and impersonal, reducing 5 years of marriage to boxes checked and lines signed, but it was necessary for practical matters like insurance and property rights. Throughout this time, nightmares plagued what little sleep I managed to get. In these dreams, Amanda was always just out of reach, calling for help, but disappearing when I got close. I would wake up in cold sweats, reaching for her side of the bed, only to find it empty. The phantom sound of her laughter would sometimes echo through the house, a cruel trick of my grieving mind. In an attempt to move forward, I reluctantly began dating again after 18 months. My first date was with a woman named Alicia, a kindergarten teacher I met through mutual friends. She was kind and patient, understanding of my situation. But as soon as she reached for my hand across the dinner table, I felt physically ill. I was not ready. We parted as friends, and I retreated back into my solitude. The next 2 years brought gradual healing. I channeled my pain into my work, designing buildings that won awards and brought in new clients. I found solace in creating spaces for others to live their lives while trying to rebuild my own. I still kept all of our wedding photos, unable to pack them away, despite the advice of friends who thought it would help me move on. I eventually sold our house, unable to bear the constant reminders of Amanda in every room. I bought a smaller place closer to my office with no history or memories attached to it, a clean slate. I still wore my wedding ring, though I had moved it to my right hand, a compromise between holding on and letting go. 3 years after Amanda vanished, I met Sophia at a client meeting. She was a landscape architect brought in to work on the grounds of a large commercial project I was designing. Her warmth and genuine interest in my ideas was refreshing. We began working closely together, and a friendship naturally developed. Sophia never pushed for more, respecting the complicated space I was in. She had her own past, divorced after her ex-husband cheated, and understood the time it takes to trust again. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, our professional relationship evolved into something deeper. Coffee meetings to discuss work became dinner conversations about books, films, and our dreams. For the first time since Amanda left, I began to imagine a future with someone else. Sophia brought light back into my world without trying to erase the darkness I had been through. She did not ask me to forget Amanda, but gave me space to remember her in a way that was not all-consuming. With Sophia, I learned that it was possible to carry the past while still moving forward. It was a Saturday morning in April, almost exactly 4 years since Amanda disappeared. I was making coffee in my kitchen, planning a quiet weekend of catching up on work and maybe watching a baseball game. Sophia was away visiting her sister in Portland, so I had the place to myself. The doorbell rang, an unexpected sound that briefly annoyed me, probably a package delivery or a neighbor. When I opened the door, the world stopped spinning. There stood Amanda, looking different yet hauntingly familiar. Her once long hair was now cut short in a stylish bob highlighted with caramel streaks. She was thinner than I remembered, with new lines around her eyes, but it was unmistakably her. She smiled, a nervous upturn of lips that did not reach her eyes. But what truly froze me in place was the small boy standing beside her, clutching her hand and half hiding behind her leg. He had dark curly hair and eyes that looked startlingly like my own, about 3 years old by my estimate. My mind went completely blank, unable to process what I was seeing. "Hello, Parker," Amanda said, her voice exactly as I remembered it from my dreams and nightmares. "Can we come in? We need to talk." I stepped aside mechanically, my body operating on autopilot while my brain struggled to catch up. They walked into the living room of my new home, a space Amanda had never seen. She looked around curiously, taking in the minimalist decor that was so different from our shared home. "You have done well for yourself," she commented, as if she was a casual acquaintance dropping by, not a wife who had vanished without a trace 4 years ago. The shock began to give way to a tsunami of emotions. Confusion, anger, hurt, and a bizarre sense of relief all competed for dominance. I remained standing, unable to sit, unable to offer them anything like a normal host would. 4 years, I finally managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. 4 years of not knowing if you were alive or dead, and you walk in here like you just went out for groceries. Amanda had the decency to look ashamed, but it passed quickly. She guided the little boy to the couch and sat beside him. "This is Liam," she said, gesturing to the child. "Your son." Those 2 words hit me like a physical blow. I staggered back, gripping the edge of a bookshelf for support. My, what I gasped, staring at the boy who was now looking at me with curious eyes. "I found out I was pregnant during the trip to Miami," Amanda explained, her tone matter-of-fact. I panicked. I was not ready to be a mother, not ready for how it would change everything. I needed time to find myself before I could be responsible for another life. So I left to figure things out. I listened in stunned disbelief as she continued her story. How she had gone to Mexico initially, then moved to Brazil, where she gave birth to Liam. How she had spent the last 4 years finding herself while raising our child in a foreign country. How she had now decided it was time for Liam to know his father and have a proper family. As she spoke, something cold and hard formed in the pit of my stomach. The shock was giving way to pure, undiluted rage. Not just at the selfishness of her actions, but at the audacity of her return, expecting to pick up where we left off. "DNA test," I said, cutting off her monologue about personal growth and self-discovery. "Tomorrow. Before anything else happens, we need a DNA test." Amanda looked offended. You do not believe me. Look at him, Parker. He has your eyes, your chin. He even furrows his brow, just like you do when you are thinking hard. 4 years of silence earns you exactly zero trust. I replied, my voice gaining strength as the initial shock wore off. I do not care what he looks like. We get a DNA test, or this conversation is over. Amanda sighed, but nodded in agreement. It was then that the full weight of her betrayal truly hit me. The nights I had spent searching for her, the money spent on private investigators, the grief her parents had endured, the therapy sessions where I tried to understand what I had done wrong, the career opportunities I had missed while lost in depression, all of it crashed down on me at once. Where did you stay last night? I asked, trying to keep my voice level for the sake of the child watching our interaction with wide, innocent eyes. A hotel downtown, Amanda replied. But I was hoping we could stay here now. It would be good for Liam to get to know you, and we could see if there is still something between us. The audacity of her suggestion was so breathtaking that I actually laughed, a harsh sound with no humor in it. You think you can just walk back into my life? After 4 years of letting me think you might be dead. I made a mistake, Parker, she said, reaching for my hand, which I immediately pulled away. People deserve second chances. Something in me snapped then. A mistake. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary or burning dinner. What you did was calculated cruelty. I took a deep breath, noticing the child was beginning to look frightened. Despite my anger, I did not want to scare him. He was innocent in all this. We are not staying here, I said firmly. You can call me tomorrow about the DNA test, but right now I need you to leave before I say things that little ears should not hear. Amanda started to protest, but something in my expression must have warned her not to push. She stood, taking Liam's hand. As they headed for the door, she turned back. There is something else you should know, she said quietly. I was not entirely honest earlier. The truth is, I met someone else before the trip, a Brazilian businessman who was in Los Angeles for a conference. We had a brief affair. When I found out I was pregnant, I was not sure if the baby was yours or his. That is why I left with him. The room seemed to tilt around me, and now I asked already knowing the answer. He left us about 6 months ago, she admitted. Moved on to someone younger. I realized what a mistake I had made, how good we were together. I thought we could try again. It was in that moment that I understood the real reason for her return. Not love, not remorse, but convenience. Her other option had fallen through, and she needed a backup plan. The man she had chosen over me had chosen someone else over her. A fitting karma I might have appreciated if I was not so disgusted. Get the DNA test, I said coldly, then we will talk about what happens next. After they left, I sat alone in my living room for hours trying to process everything. When I finally checked my phone, I saw 3 missed calls from Sophia. I texted her that something had come up and I would explain when she returned. Some news had to be delivered in person. The next day, I arranged for a DNA test at a reputable clinic. 3 days later, the results confirmed what I had suspected from the moment Amanda revealed the truth about her affair. Liam was not my biological child. The relief I felt was immediate and overwhelming. When the DNA results came back negative, I knew exactly what I needed to do. Amanda had been staying at a hotel downtown, calling and texting me constantly with reminiscences of our past and photos of Liam. Each message was a transparent attempt to manipulate my emotions, to make me feel connected to a child who was not mine and a woman who had betrayed me in the worst possible way. I arranged to meet her at a coffee shop, a public place where I could maintain control of my emotions. When I arrived, she was already seated, looking hopeful. Liam was not with her, thankfully staying with Amanda's parents, who had been overjoyed at their daughter's return, though less so about the circumstances. The results are back, I said, without preamble, sliding the envelope across the table. Liam is not my son. Her face fell, though I detected a lack of genuine surprise. On some level, she must have known the truth all along. That does not mean we cannot still be a family, she said quickly. You would be a wonderful father to him, blood relation or not. Amanda, I said firmly, there is no we anymore. There has not been for 4 years by your choice. Parker, please. She reached for my hand across the table. I made a terrible mistake. I was confused and scared. I have changed. I know now what is truly important. I pulled my hand away. What is important to you is having someone support you now that your Brazilian boyfriend has moved on. I am your backup plan, nothing more. Her expression hardened slightly. That is not fair. I came back because I still love you. No, I countered. You came back because you need me. There is a difference. And the fact that you cannot see that difference tells me everything I need to know about how much you have actually changed. I had contacted my lawyer the day before explaining the situation. He had prepared preliminary paperwork to finally complete our divorce, which had been in limbo due to her disappearance. I took the folder from my bag and placed it on the table. These are divorce papers, I explained. Since you are no longer missing, we can finalize this properly. My lawyer will contact yours to work out the details. Amanda's eyes filled with tears, whether genuine or calculated, I could no longer tell. Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? I gave up everything to come back to you. No, I corrected her. You gave up everything 4 years ago when you chose another man over our marriage. And now you are facing the consequences of that decision. I stood to leave, but paused, remembering something important. I spoke to your parents yesterday. They have offered to let you and Liam stay with them until you get back on your feet. They are still hurt and confused, but they love you and want to know their grandson. Before walking away, I added one final thought. I do not hate you, Amanda. I just do not love you anymore, and I do not trust you. I hope you find what you are looking for, but it will not be with me. As I left the coffee shop, I felt an enormous weight lifting from my shoulders. For the first time in 4 years, I was truly free. No more wondering, no more waiting, no more false hope. I had stood up for myself, refused to be manipulated, and set clear boundaries. The choice to leave had been hers, but the choice to move forward was now mine. When I told Sophia everything that had happened, she was supportive beyond what I could have hoped for. She listened without judgment, held me when memories became overwhelming, and gave me space when I needed to process things alone. Her strength helped me find my own. My journey of healing did not happen overnight. Even after Amanda's return and our final goodbye, there were moments when the pain would resurface unexpectedly. A song on the radio, a familiar scent, or a place we had once visited together could send me spiraling back into memories. But with each passing day, those moments became less frequent and less intense. The divorce was finalized 3 months after Amanda's return. The process was surprisingly straightforward, since we had no shared property or children. I insisted on providing some financial support for Liam, despite him not being my biological child. He was an innocent party in all this, and the thought of him struggling did not sit right with me. I set up a modest trust fund for his education that Amanda could not access directly. Amanda struggled in the aftermath of our divorce. She moved in with her parents, as suggested, and took a job at a small interior design firm, starting over at an entry-level position since her portfolio was outdated. From what her parents told me, she was working hard to rebuild her life and be a good mother to Liam. I wished her well from a distance, maintaining contact only through lawyers when necessary. My own life took a positive turn. The architecture firm made me a partner, recognizing the quality of my work and dedication over the years. I threw myself into new projects, designing spaces that brought joy and functionality to the people who would use them. Work became not just a distraction, but a passion again. Sophia became an essential part of my healing process. Unlike Amanda, she was consistently honest and transparent. We built our relationship on mutual respect and open communication. When we disagreed, we talked it through rather than letting resentments build. She never tried to erase Amanda from my past, but helped me integrate that experience into who I was becoming. After a year of dating, Sophia moved in with me. We created a home together that reflected both our tastes and personalities. On weekends, we would explore local farmers markets, take cooking classes, or simply enjoy quiet mornings with coffee and conversation. These small moments of connection healed parts of me I did not even realize were still broken. I also found unexpected healing in helping others. I joined a support group for people who had experienced abandonment or betrayal by partners. Sharing my story and listening to others made me realize I was not alone in my pain. Eventually, I started mentoring newer members of the group, using my experience to help them navigate their own journeys toward healing. Writing became another form of therapy. I started a blog anonymously, at first chronicling my experience and the lessons I had learned. The response was overwhelming, with readers from around the world sharing similar stories and thanking me for putting into words what they had struggled to express. This virtual community became another source of strength and purpose. Throughout this process, I maintained a civil relationship with Amanda's parents. They occasionally sent photos and updates about Liam, which I appreciated. Despite everything I found, I had a soft spot for the boy who had briefly been presented as my son. I sent birthday and Christmas gifts, becoming something of a distant uncle figure in his life. 3 years after Amanda's return and our divorce, Sophia and I began discussing marriage. The idea no longer filled me with dread or anxiety. Instead, I felt ready to take this step with someone who had proven her love and commitment day after day, not with grand gestures, but with consistent presence and unwavering support. Looking back on everything that happened, I realized that losing Amanda was not the tragedy I once thought it was. The real tragedy would have been remaining in a relationship with someone capable of such deception. Her leaving, painful as it was, freed me to find a more authentic and fulfilling love. The greatest lesson I learned was that we cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. I could have let Amanda's betrayal turn me bitter and mistrustful. Instead, I chose to learn from it, to grow stronger, and to open myself to new possibilities. Forgiveness came gradually, not because Amanda deserved it, but because I deserved peace. Holding on to anger and resentment would only have kept me tethered to the past. By forgiving, I was not excusing what she did, but releasing its power over me. Time has a way of revealing truth and bringing clarity. What seemed like the end of my world became the beginning of a better one. Sometimes losing what we think we cannot live without leads us to discover what we truly need. If you have ever experienced betrayal or abandonment, know that healing is possible. It may not happen as quickly as you want, and the path forward is rarely straight, but each step takes you closer to reclaiming your joy and peace. The question I leave you with is this: what painful experience has ultimately led to growth in your life? Drop a comment below. Like this video if it resonated with you. Subscribe for more stories of resilience and transformation, and share with someone who might need to hear that they can survive what feels unsurvivable right now. Thank you for listening to my story. Remember, sometimes the happiest endings come after the most difficult chapters.